No longer are we all like unique in some way unless you've hired us and get to know us. From the outside in, we're all a commodity. So by optimizing your connection with your clients and commoditizing even that, a long term puts you in a difficult place.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And, all right, I almost went out to the garage and grabbed a broom. So that's all I got to say, folks. In 5 years when you're watching this, Avalanche just swept the Kings, and
Yes,
we are hot dog in the middle of round one NHL playoffs, and I'm feeling pretty confident right now about my Colorado Avalanche.
yes, sir. And this comes out Friday, so we're actually topical. Since we're done now, Stars and Wild, they're going to 7. You can actually talk a little hockey, and it would be topical by the time it comes out.
Yeah, well, you know what? We could have said this was recorded Friday, and I could have predicted the Avalanche were going to sweep, right?
Well, who do you think we get in then, Wild or Stars? I'll make a prediction.
I'm going to say it's going to be the Stars, and I'm hoping it goes to 7. That's 7 with multiple overtime games. That's what I'm thinking. So they're nice and tired when they come up here to altitude.
Yeah, I would say I'm hoping for the Wild because they scare me more as an actual team, but we don't have a curse against them, whereas we seem to be cursed against the Stars. So that worries me a bit more. Supernatural stuff.
That's why I want to face them, because I want to rectify that. That's all I got to say.
Yes, sir.
And our good friend Ari joining us. Ari, man, anything that you need to rectify that's a curse that's hanging out there over your head lately, man?
Hopefully over the years I've taken care of that.
Maybe we could talk about it some other time when we're not showing it to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which the trust thing. I love a good trust story. Sorry, but it just made me think of the stupid trust fall. That's why I had to snicker with that, because that's an overplayed way of proving trust. But, as I was thinking about and looking forward to our conversation, technology has done some great things for us, has done some bad things for us. How trust is, I was going to say finite, but it's fixed. But how has technology helped or hurt us in our, use of trust?
Well, I think obviously technology is sort of so ubiquitous now, and people are assuming it's where everything's being done. And I think what's happened is they've left the human side behind. And I think as technology becomes more trustworthy, the burden is on us as humans to be better at trust building with other humans. And I think that's the gap, is that we're all saying, oh no, look what's happening over here. And I'm saying, wait a second here. You have the ability to learn the skills yourself to be better at trust building, especially in the sales process with other humans. So start working on that so you don't get left behind. That's where you get left behind, not over here.
Could you talk some about your perspective on that shift? Because I think you're spot on. As things like social media and technology proliferates, there was this moment where we didn't know we couldn't trust people in the same kind of way. Like, I always think this is a funny example. I was talking with a friend about the other day of, like, there was a time you got a phone call. It's like that's a trustworthy person calling your house, because why else would they be calling you? Like, there's this barrier there that is now completely gone, and you could kind of run down that list for each different technology and as that innovation goes. And then there's this other end of it where it's like, okay, now there's that barrier that we usually could trust of. It's like the fact that you have my phone number means I could trust you. Now that's gone. What else do we look for? And we go back to those human components there. Could you talk some about how that shift happens and what kind of effects we might see as that keeps going?
Well, there's no doubt the human moments are being reduced and eliminated. I'll give you an example. I have one of these Oura rings, for tracking, and the battery is just kind of going out on me. And I went to the website to get it replaced because it's under warranty. And I was sort of hoping I could talk to like a real person, but they had the AI bot on there. And then literally after 5 questions, they said, "Yep, under warranty. Yep, we'll ship a new one. Yep, just sent you a confirmation. Yep, it's being shipped. Yep, tracking." I'm like, wow, it was very efficient, but I kind of like wanted to like have someone say sorry or like hear a voice somewhere or like feel like, yeah, the experience of someone actually, "Oh, yes, Mr. Galper, we'll be happy to do that for you." Like just something. And I felt kind of like, like what just happened? So I think smart businesses are adding more of the human touch, not less of it, especially front end of their businesses.
Yeah, very. That was a very commodity type of transaction, wasn't it?
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that we forget about is when you don't have trust, it becomes a transaction. What I was just trying to, man, I was trying to frame this whole thing, this whole trust thing in like the minimum to the maximum. But really, I don't know. I'm going to leave that just kind of in a weird sort of open door and see if you want to walk into it, because I can't get my head around that, because I'm thinking Walmart gallon of milk.
Yeah, for commodity things that we buy all the time. Yeah. We don't need this super high level of personal engagement because it's something we buy all the time. It's a consistent product. Versus things like a coaching or I don't know, even like a car. Like you want a little bit more of the personal touch.
Well, I think a lot of business owners are getting so efficient at what they're doing. They're basically automating out the human touch, and I'm okay with that in terms of like back end processes. But when it comes to a real customer experience, what that does is it commoditizes you. And they can go elsewhere because they have no sense of connection to the business, the experience at all. So there is a good business case for saving money, no doubt about that with technology, but you got to decide where you're going to put it. So there's a lot of questions around that.
Could you talk some about painting that picture? Because we're talking trust and the human component there, but you're also an AI guy. So can we talk some about how you start to kind of separate those two? Because I think that's something that at its core, some people might feel like it's at odds with each other, but it is, I think, more just about like, well, when in the experience are you getting the human component? When are in the experience do you just want an automated email? Like how do those all kind of fit together like that?
Well, the way I view it is I want every customer or everyone in my ecosystem to feel like a human being has reached out to them or contacted them. I mean, I'm in this sales coaching business, and as you know, I do trust-based selling. So the way I use AI in multiple levels, one is I've cloned myself. Okay, so I've taken all 25 years of my work and put it into a private AI system called AriAI, and I have clients every day who are right now talking to it with my voice, asking me questions to solve their sales challenges around trust. So that's like one level. So there's different levels of how you go about using it, but that's out of necessity because I can't be everywhere at all times talking to all my clients. So they're very happy to have the AI version of me at a certain level and pay for that. And I think you have to decide where AI fits in your sort of levels of client contact,
Sorry to follow up on that, because I think there's an interesting piece there, because there's the knowledge value from getting even in the AI version, and then there's also just like the human value. And is that kind of what it comes down to? If it's like in that math of like, hey, do I need somebody who really understands what's going on here, or do I just need somebody to go on like, hey man, I'm sorry, I understand what you're going through, and it's like they don't need to have any knowledge of the situation. Is that kind of the math on that?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain people who want direct access. Some people are happy to just have access to the AI version because the content in that little in the container, the vessel is only my information. Doesn't go to the outside world. It's pretty pure in what the answers are. It comes from my perspective, so they know mostly it's my work, so it works that way.
And what I was going to ask, or still gonna, is It's in that same line. Is there a cost correlation to trust? Because as you were just talking about earlier, with the Aura Ring, that was very, very efficient, but they lost trust. But an Aura Ring ain't cheap. So you were expecting, because you spent some money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Help us out with that.
That's exactly what I was thinking myself. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't a commodity purchase from my perspective. It was, quote, investment in something, important I use every day. But others do the same thing. Now I feel like less connected to the brand, I guess, the product, because if everybody is so efficient, well, then I could just choose someone else at some point if it gets frustrating. And that's where, I've coined this term called the trust recession, because we're now in a commoditized world, and everyone does what everyone else does. There's lots of coaches do coaches, a lot of rings. Like, no longer are we all like unique in some way, unless you've hired us and get to know us. From the outside in, we're all a commodity. So by optimizing your connection with your clients and commoditizing even that, a long term puts you in a difficult place.
I think that's an interesting piece of like the aspect of like market maturity, and the idea, like, we've talked about it a bunch on the show, of like every book that we all can go out and read about marketing and selling a coaching program. There's people out there who have heard all those same things. They recognize the same playbooks, and that it's a pattern that people understand when it comes to that. There's this interesting piece of that pattern that is, even when it comes to more like traditional commodities, there is a desire to like tell a story and have this kind of larger brand for things, like even like using like a gallon of milk kind of example. Like, there's a local company here in Arizona, and actually they're probably not even that local, because they've run a good ad to make them seem local. And they pump out all these things that's like try to make it look like it's more than it is. Just a look, hey, it's $1.99 for a gallon of milk. That's it. That should be their sale point, because it is a commodity. But then at the same time, you kind of compare that with the trust recession that you're talking about, and I could see those kind of being at odds. Or do you think it's that as those commodities have tried to become more personalized, more special in those kind of ways, that is what's led to the watering down that creates the trust recession? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think what's happened is that a lot of companies who are commoditized haven't thought about how to decommoditize themselves. They're just fighting that price battle. And you can decommoditize your business if you ask yourself, how can I change the perception of the human side of my business? How can I build trust with clients in different ways? How can I, and brand-wise, how can I pretty up my brand so it feels more homey? I don't know. I'm not really a branding guy. I'm more of a selling guy. But I think the way to differentiate your business in this day and age, in the trust recession, is through trust building.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It just reminds me of, when you commoditize whatever your service is, you're in a race to the bottom, right?
Exactly.
Because that becomes the only differentiator. So when you have some a business that you're talking to, or maybe is a client or soon to be new client, whatever, kind of in that new relationship, and you see them, what's something you could say, hey, do this to stop the race to the bottom, or however you put it?
Yeah, people come to us all the time struggling with their conversion rate in their sales process. They get leads, and then they do what I call free consulting. They just start giving information out, doing education, sending you proposals.
We wouldn't know anything about that, would we?
No, of course not. No. And then you end up chasing them afterwards, leaving a voicemail, just calling to follow up. All those behaviors are selling behaviors, and they break trust. That's a sales process. And what I share with people is you have to stop selling and instead build a trust building process, not a sales process. Nobody wants to be chased. They may want information from you, but the truth is they really want to trust you. We get caught up in the game, and then we end up with a pipeline with low conversion. We wonder what's going on here. So my advice to folks when they start working with us is you have to let go and shift to more of a doctor-patient mental framework where you're not dispensing information for free. You're instead diagnosing at a very deep level with them with trust-based questions for them to say to you, how can you help me?
with that, the thing I'm kind of thinking about is how do you get to that point of trust in the human interaction? How much of that I don't know. I think the thing I keep coming back to is like because we value those leads so much, we want to give them so much information, and we want to pour things out to them, even in like not just like the free coaching or free consulting like you're talking about, but even like marketing stuff, like education based marketing is that kind of exact same concept there. How do you balance those two? Because I think that's where people tend to lead. Of it's like, well, look, that's how I build trust. Is I coach. I'm a coach. So how does that? How do you rework that to fit into this framework? Yeah.
Sure. So what you do is you switch and flip from solution-centric thinking to problem-centric thinking. So your content is not about solutions. It's not about you. It's not about your brand. It's not about your case studies. It's about their problems. That's very hard for business to understand because they've been brought up to believe people want information about their business. They don't. They don't care about the solution. What they care about is, do they understand me? So you got to flip all your marketing content away from your business, talking about you as a coach, whatever you do, and focus only on the core issues that you help people solve for the other person to go, oh man, these guys, they get me. Because that's what trust is. Trust is when someone says, I feel understood.
Yeah, and that's the powerful thing, because when they feel understood, then they start to listen back to you, right? Because that's where you make the close. Am I kind of putting it? I mean, I know that was a very short process, but that's where it happens, right? It is now I hear what you're saying. You're saying, yes, my problems are valid. And I'm like, well, if he knows my problems, then he has the solutions.
Yeah, so they make the connection on their own emotionally when they feel like you understand them at a deep level, and they go, man, this guy just gets me. He's the one. They don't care about your solution, your program, your experience, and who you talk, your logos. They don't really care about that. All they care about psychologically is, does he understand me? And that they're sold right there. The rest is what I call onboarding. You just onboard them as a client. That's my one call sale framework that I teach.
This is more of a hypothetical than anything, but do you think that to take that kind of the extreme there, that you don't necessarily need to know the business, the person that much? Like it is more, and actually maybe this goes back to the human component conversation we were having earlier, that it's less the idea of all the business things behind, but it's more just like me right here talking to you. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Well, you have to be able to elicit and draw out the truth of their problems. Because imagine an iceberg for a moment, right? Let's say the first call with a lead, LinkedIn or whatever, they're on Zoom, right? Now, what will happen is there'll be a lot of chit chat going on there at the beginning, and they might share a few things about their situation, what they're looking for, and we're going to assume that that's what they need. And off we go the races saying, oh, we can help you with that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then off we go. But that's above the iceberg. That's called service level communication. Our job as the doctor is to go below the iceberg, to ask the trust-based questions to unravel their situation, to help them understand the seriousness of it, the gravity of it, and if they want to solve it or not.
There's an aspect of trust and trust building in the sales process that I think is somewhat at odds with each other. Maybe this is a misperception of mine, but it's that because I've gone through this with my own like sales training and those processes of I want to build trust in order to get like more information from you. And there's kind of this like push and pull with that can kind of feel odd. If it's like, I have to get you to start sharing so I can help you and show you that I actually know what you're talking about. But I need you to start sharing in the first place. So could you talk through some of that like push and pull there and how
Sure.
you balance that?
Yeah, we think that our job is to prove ourselves. We think they want us to flex. Oh yeah, been 25 years I've been doing this. Oh yeah, we got a great program. See, they trigger us to start talking. The minute you start talking, it's over. You've broken all trust. Let me walk you through a scenario, okay? So let's just say this is what we teach in our model. Let's just say that you have a lead. They show up for Zoom for the first time, right? Well, I mean, Camden, how would you start a meeting like that with a new lead? I'm just curious, just for fun. They show up. How would you begin a meeting like that? What would you normally say to somebody? They show up.
I mean, aside from just like the small talk chit chat, because that's usually where I start there of just
No,
like a little bit, hey, where are you?
Let's start there. So here I am. I show up. I see you. You see me. What do you say?
Yeah, so big thing, I just check where you're coming from and those kind of things. You'd probably make a joke about the desert and how hot it is here and talk about how great your weather is because you're not in Arizona. Okay. Gives a little bit of a joke to kind of get things
moving. Stop right there. Now, what you're doing is you're attempting to create rapport. Mm-hmm. You're creating a peer-to-peer connection for them to like you. Because your thinking has always been, let's become friends first. If we can get along first, then we can work together, okay? That's adding a social structure in front of the business structure. When you start doing that whole rapport thing, where are you from? I love your haircut. Oh, great hat. Then they know you're playing the game because they're not meeting for you to meet a friend. They don't need a friend. They're looking for someone to solve their problem. So let me walk you through our process so you understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It is a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift. Let me say it's not easy to let go of the need to, hey, how are you? It's part of our fabric. But let me tell you the shift here. They show up on Zoom.
Can I just say on that, because I think it's an interesting thing, because also it's like people say all the time as coaches, it's like, well, you want to coach people you like. So we're auditioning them in that same kind of way too. I could totally see how you fall into that pattern every time.
Well, the irony of it is they don't have to like you to trust you. They just have to trust you. They don't have to like you. It's about trust, not about like. Okay, now obviously you're not going to trust someone who's like not really cool. But let me walk the process. So they show up on Zoom. Here's what you say. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Next thing you say is, if it's okay with you, Cam, if you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment, walk me through your background, your situation, and up to your current challenges you have regarding your business model, and we'll go from there. Would that be okay? Take your fingers like this over your mouth like a doctor, sit back in a chair like that. Now, what does this do?
Shows that I ain't going to say nothing.
Don't talk. It's going to be harder first, because you want to engage, you want to be funny, you want to create chemistry. It makes you feel good, makes us feel really good when they like us. But that's the problem. See, you're trying to build a relationship with someone, and what happens, relationships take a long time to get the trust. So our whole model is trust first, relationship second. Not relationship first, trust second. That's what the doctor, what's the first thing they say to you? They say, where does it hurt? They don't say, hey, where are you from? I love your shoes. Hey, let's have a cup of coffee. Yeah, they don't try and become your best friend because they know if they do that, they can't ask you the hard questions because you're buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is flipping it on its head. And I think that is such a key piece of it. And the other thing that I saw is you're leading the person. So it's not we're equal. It's, hey, I'm going to lead us to a solution for you. And I think that's a critical one also. I've learned that over the years in some other situations.
Yeah. If you're not the authority and you're the buddy, you're in trouble real fast. Long sales cycle, chasing them, because they won't tell you the truth if they think you're playing a game with them around the rapport thing. They know it's not authentic. Not that you're not authentic. They just know that's the sales thing that everyone does. They try and butter them up.
Oh yeah, because then they'll feel embarrassed to tell you their problems, right?
Exactly. They won't feel vulnerable with you because you started with them at a social level.
Talking about building that trust and by going through their problems and showing that you really understand them, could you talk some about how then the solutions start to play into that? Or because I think that's another pitfall that a lot of people fall into is it's like we go through this and I start just talking about all the things I could do and oh my gosh, I could solve all this stuff. And it's funny because I always have this we talk our sports analogies all the time. And I think back to like my time coaching rugby because I coach in both of my jobs, but they're very different types of coaching. And it's funny because in that environment, I would never feel the need to tell you every single thing that you need to know about something. I would tell you what you need right now, and I would shut up. And then you ask, I go, oh, I can talk for hours about how to pass the ball, but right now you just do that. And boom. And there's this kind of simplicity to it that I think authentically builds that trust that you're talking about because you're not just blabbing and trying to flex your muscles like you're saying there.
Yeah. So in our process, there's two steps. One is what I call going down the iceberg with someone. Start from the top with what I gave you the languaging right, and have a series of questions that unpacks their situation and helps them identify not ROI, but COI, their cost of inaction. What's it costing them right now not to work on their problem? What's the impact of their business? What's the impact of their family? Spending time on that. Then the last question would be, is this a priority for you to address once and for all? Let's say you do this right. The guy says to you, yeah, you're right, Otis, I got to get this done. Now, the next step is not your solution, even though it feels like it. Because now you want to give him a big hug and say, don't worry, come over here. You want to be the pharmacist right away. First you're the doctor, now I'm the pharmacist. Hey. So here's what you do instead. You create what I call a roadmap, a framework, a process that's a meta step before your solution. It's a process that shows them how you're going to go about solving their problem. So in your case, you might show a visual from left to right that says, here's what you say. May I walk you through our roadmap process for how we go about solving your problem? Guy's like, sure, because you gave him 0 so far, not a word about yourself. So he's hungry for something. Then you walk through you show him a visual of your process left to right. You say, look, here's our coaching success roadmap. There's 5 phases. Phase 1 is we do deep dive discovery. We do deep inside your business, look at your goals, your objectives, your timeline, your concerns you have. Then we go to phase 2, which is analysis. We have to analyze your information and figure out a plan for you and then come up with what we think is best for you for our next step. That's phase 3. You literally walk them through what your process is to figure out what the solution is. You don't just say, oh, we do coaching. Well, so does everybody else in the world. So when I was trying to decommoditize your business, you have to decommoditize your sales approach. So when they see a roadmap in front of them visually, when they see it, they believe it. When you talk about it, it goes in one ear and goes where? Out the other ear, and they want to think about it. Hey, that's been great. Nice meeting you. Yeah, I'll think about it. Give me a call next week. And then you're back to square one again. Mm-hmm. So the roadmap is a key piece of IP to create in the process to show them visually what they're buying, what their process is.
Yeah, because that's I'm just envisioning the because we've got one that's literally the road how much better visually can you see that? I mean, that's just, it relates to everybody, doesn't it? I mean,
here's the thing. It prevents you from talking. If you don't have the roadmap, you're going to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And then it's all on your court now. Then you're in trouble. Your job is to guide them, not to educate them.
How much, talking about not commoditizing yourself and your business, how much of that do you think goes into just like the way you talk about the problem? Because I think that's, if we're not talking solution, the easy way to make me stand out is I layer a bunch of qualifiers on my solution. It's not coaching. It's all these other crap on top of it, right? Father, son, coaching, and all these kind of things. We could do that. We don't, but you could throw all those things out. And now we are completely unique, but we're talking solution there. And so I could see how, based on things we talked about, that doesn't vibe with you. But on the other end of it, then on the problem side, is it just getting super specific on the problem? And if so, how has that become unique necessarily? Does that make sense?
I'll explain it to you. So the goal is to dimensionalize the problem, because they'll give it to you above the surface, very narrow, just enough for you to chew on and run off the race of your solution. They won't open up the whole thing beneath the surface unless they trust you. Mm-hmm. So let me show you an example. So here's the languaging around this. So, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. If you wouldn't mind, I'll just take a step back from a moment, walk you through your situation, your challenges you have around your business, and we'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? Guy's like, of course. That's what I want to tell you in the first place, but you don't let me. Stop talking. So then they start downloading on you. Now, as you're hearing their problem, what would go through the back of your mind? Just try and start solving it. Because we have what's called the expert syndrome. We know our stuff so well. It's not the first time we heard their problem. We've heard like 100 times. So our system goes, we can fix that. Come over here. And we never go down the iceberg. So here's what you do instead. You listen. They're done talking. You summarize the core issues. So what I'm hearing from you is your core challenges are X, Y, and Z. Is that right? And he goes, exactly. Checkbox number 1. This guy's listening, not talking. This is good so far. Next question. How long has this been a concern for you for? Okay. And what have you done so far on your own to try and address this so far? Okay. Okay. And what's the impact to your business right now by allowing this to occur? I mean, have you measured the sales losses or your team performance, or when you go home at night, is this impacting you in some way where it's actually costing you money? I've never thought about that. Well, let's talk about that. So then you have to build a business case for the impact of the problem. And here's the last question to really go deep down the problem world. You say, is this a priority for you to address once and for all and get it off your plate, or something you want to do down the road? And I'm okay either way. See how I went like, I'm okay either way? What am I saying there?
I'm not selling to you.
Hey, it's your problem, not mine. I'm not going to own it. I'm going to put it in my backpack. I'm not the pharmacist right now. I'm the doctor. And you have to decide for yourself, are you committed to solving the problem? If you're not, I can't help you.
As you're talking through that, it makes me think back to like the market maturity aspect earlier and how people know more of the sales process stuff. So then that makes us more resistant to the sales process because we can tell exactly what they're doing. And it seems like that's the real genius there, is that you're stripping it down to this real transparent level of, yeah, I'm asking you the 5 sales things, but I'm not doing all the crap with it. I just need to know so I can see if I can help you. Is that right?
Yeah, I figured out. That's good. Good, astute of you. That complexity equals mistrust. Simplicity equals trust. If you are adding complexity to your sales process by talking all the time, it's over. Why? Because you're adding education to the brain. They have to now process, which means they got to think about it, which means they can't decide. You can get a yes or no on a first meeting with someone if you just stop selling, stop talking. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they want a chance in a safe space to open up to you, and we have a tendency to hijack that moment and listen for the next step, and off we go to the races.
Oh yeah, because we just want to talk about how awesome our solution
we
is.
Love
right?
what we do.
Can I tell you about it now, Ari? Can I tell you now?
Buddy, yeah, we just woohoo.
I mean, that's it. I mean, and isn't that the other trouble? And I think you touched on this earlier. The problem with human nature is, I mean, I want to talk about me. I mean, what that country song? Oh
Toby
man,
Keith.
I can't think of his name now. That sings
Toby
that.
Keith. Toby Keith.
Toby Keith. Yes,
Oh,
yes. God rest his soul. But yeah, I want to talk about me.
And I think also, because for a lot of folks, maybe for some folks, it is, whether you're aware or not, a bit of an ego, it's me. But I think even more so, it's also like you care about what you do and you want to talk about it. Like I used my rugby example earlier of like, I could talk of something super simple, but there's this really deep thing on it. Somebody asks me on that, like, I know, Dad, you've heard it about 5 times a week. Like, I could nerd out on some freaking rugby. I could talk about all sorts of complexities, all these crazy things, but it doesn't necessarily communicate that value, right? And I think it's interesting, Ari, what is your process to get you to shut up on those things? Like I found with rugby, because I ran into this problem in selling basic coaching concepts out to guys who out of practice, but at the same time, it is this like I know I can't say too much because it gets confusing, so I have to keep it simple. And I will literally just say things like, "Hey, I got a bunch of other cool shit to show you, but I can't right now." It's like my way of like putting a wall up for myself to stop me. What's your process there to put up that wall?
I'll give you an example. I had a financial advisor said to me, "Ari, I'm loving your approach. What do I do in a networking meeting when I meet someone new and they're like, oh, what do you do? It's very social. I normally say I'm a financial advisor, and their eyes start rolling and they're out of here." I said, "Here's what you do. When someone says to you, what do? You say, I'm a financial doctor." They go, huh? And what do? I go, well, I solve 3 problems. I help people stop overpaying on taxes, make sure they run out of money in retirement, and then whatever the third one is. They just describe the problems they solve, not what they do. So you're problem focused. And then the person goes, oh, how do you do that? So the key is not talking about you and your solution, which is so counterintuitive, is only focusing on the issues that they solve. And also, Camden, you mentioned earlier about you're trying to deliver value. Your value in itself has been commoditized. Don't deliver value at all. And let them pay for that part. Instead, deliver clarity on their own issues, the gaps they have, and they go, oh my God, this guy just gets me. That's what trust is. Don't deliver value.
That's I love that. Don't deliver value.
No, it's been commoditized. Every other coach in the world does the same thing. Hey, we help you with it. It's like the value is everywhere. I go to YouTube. I can watch a video on you. They don't want value. They want clarity on their own issues.
Yeah, and that's the difference between. I mean, I can get the value off of a book or out of a book.
Exactly.
On YouTube, I can get all those things.
Correct.
That's the difference of having that person, that trust in that person.
But they can't get the doctor bedside manner and empathy diagnosis from that.
Yeah, that's why we all go to WebMD before we go to the doctor, but we still go to the doctor.
Exactly. And then we show up and we sit there and we wait. Now, we don't invoice them for your time, do you? No, it's not the process over there. Then they call your name, and the first thing they say to you is, what does it hurt? My shoulder. He says, let me take a look. Oh, yeah, it looks a bit sore. Let's get you an x-ray, see what's going on. X-ray comes back. Says, yeah, you don't have a shoulder problem. You got a blood clot in your right calf causing your shoulder to hurt. It's like, oh, my God, really? Yeah. Total clarity. Writes your prescription. You go to the front desk and you pay. You pay the doctor, not for solving your problem, only for clarity on how to solve it. The pharmacist solves the problem. Oftentimes, we're both. We're the doctor and the pharmacist all in one. It gets very confusing for the guy. That's why they can't make decisions, and you're chasing people.
You know, Ari, what is your feeling on the sales mechanism of the widening the gap, making the problem bigger than it is? Because I think there's a real value of making someone aware of how big their problem is. It's also really easy to go, Ari, you said it's costing you $1,000 a month over the next 5 years. That's $60,000. It's really easy to start just going crazy and make stuff sound bigger than it is. What are your thoughts on that piece and how that balance plays into trust?
There's a couple elements in there. One is that you have to be careful not to sell the future. You're losing that next 5 years. That's selling. You gotta focus on the current problem now and the losses that are occurring. But secondly, with that, they have to own the problem and own the losses. You aren't to take it on and say, oh my God, do you see that? You say, look, are you aware? Here's some languaging for you that I developed. Are you aware that every month that you're not addressing this issue, you're losing approximately X amount on market share or impact, whatever. Are you aware of that? The guy's like, I never thought about that. Okay. Well, look, let's build a business case here to make sure it makes sense to solve it, because maybe you don't need to solve it. If there's no business case, then you don't want to invest in it. So you got to work with these people to help them even decide if they want to solve their own. Just because they come to you and say, oh, yeah, I'm looking for information. I'm looking for a coach. Bing. We think somehow they want to do it. No. That's service level. You got to go down to the bottom and say, figure out the problem and say, look, is this a priority for you? Look, it's like you're the adult, they're the child. Now, look, Johnny, pick up your clothes out of your floor and get to school this morning. Do you want to solve your problem or not, Mike? Well, because it looks serious, but I'm not going to decide for you. You decide. That's non-selling.
Yeah,
and we get the buy-in difference on that is what's coming to mind for me. Of it's like that, because then somebody actually, one, it shows that they really care about trying to solve the problem. That two, they'll work on solving the problem because they're actually bought into it, rather than just when Ari's looking over their shoulder going, "Are you working on solving the problem right now?"
What they're thinking the whole time is, "Oh my God, he's not trying to sell me anything. He's trying to help me decide and look at my problem with me." That puts you with them. As opposed to over here saying, let me show you what we got. We got this, we got that. Oh my God, it's over right there. Hello. You've lost them.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line also of, I don't know if it's nitpicker, but being the I know better than you.
Yes.
And look at that problem. Look at that problem. Because that has the opposite effect also, doesn't it?
Correct. Yeah, that's preaching.
There you go. That's the word. Yes. That's the, look how smart I am because, dude, you're just screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to kind of shift gears on something you said earlier because I've always it's branding. I know you're not a brand guy, but that still factors into
Sure.
the whole. I'll call it the outer layer of trust.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
The logo, the name, the website, all those sort of things.
Yes.
What's the balance in that for businesses?
Well, like, let's take a website, for example. Most websites have what information on there? About who?
The leadership. I mean,
about the company.
Yeah.
Here's what we do, about us, solutions, contact us, right? So our website has a tab called, you ready for this? Here it comes, about you. Not about us. And the About You page describes their world, their problems. And they go, oh, man, these guys just get me. So your website has to be all about the problems you solve, not your solutions. They know what you do. It's not a mystery. They get it. You sell insurance. You do coaching. They understand what solutions are. Not looking for solutions. They're looking for someone or a company who gets them. You need an About You page on your website, front and center.
Yeah. How much of that, and do you think that the barrier to people making these kind of changes is getting hung up on semantics and those kind of things? Because like right off the bat, like I'll be honest, Ari, it's like you say like you don't need an about us, you need an about you. It's like, gosh, that sounds like some crappy, like some bullshit. Like, oh, here's the thing, but it's like, I've been talking with you for 45 minutes now. I know exactly what you mean by that, and it's a great freaking idea. Like, but it's really easy to get tied up on that semantics there. Could you talk some about like how to overcome that piece? Because when we start talking sales language, people get caught on those vocab words.
I know, it's true. I'll give you an example. Here's a classic one. I'm going to ask you guys never again use this phrase forever as of today. You ready for this one? Don't ever use this might hurt just a bit. Okay, here it comes. Don't ever use the phrase follow-up ever again for the rest of your life.
Dang.
I'm calling to follow up with you. That's a sales word. That says I'm trying to move you towards a sale. You're chasing him. Here's what you say instead. I'm giving you a ring call to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation, any feedback on the last meeting. And feedback goes away from the sale. Follow-up is chasing the sale. These are all languaging that we're so stuck in our minds thinking that's our job, but you're decreasing your perception as the expert. You're just chasing these people. Not you, but people in general. Here's another great one, never use again. This might hurt even more. You ready for this one? Don't ever say this one pre-sale. Ready? Here it comes. Don't ever say, do you have any questions? That's the worst thing to ever say to somebody pre-sale. Because then you start picking your brain and asking you questions, and you feel so good, you're answering them, and they go and they shop someplace else. Information is portable. You just give it to them for free, and off they go. You say, save your questions for phase one, in the discovery phase, where I'll answer all your questions in there. But for now, let's focus on the problem.
That's such a good one, too. I mean, makes me reflect back to when I was coaching rugby. Because you set the boys up, you do a drill, you show them the example, and right before you line them up and you tell them to go, you go, "Do you have any questions?" And what the hell are they going to say? Not a thing. They won't even say no. They just won't say anything. No. And then they'll flub it all up. So yes.
Yeah. And actually, I think interesting layer on that of like what we're talking about, like market maturity is I've noticed a pattern with specifically not with the little kids that engage, but with the U of A guys that there are times where I will say it the right way. I will get my semantics right. And it's not, are there any questions? It's what questions do you have? And they still will not give me the questions then. And it's one of those, I think there's an interesting piece of it's like, yeah, they've had the coaches who say the different things and now it's all just a trick at the end of the day. You got to figure out, like, I could tell he looks confused. I'm going to pull the question out. And like that goes back to that human component we've been talking about, that the different semantics, those kind of things. Yeah, there's an aspect of that of change the language, and you should get more questions. I think you're spot on, Dad. But people change also. You got to make sure you're really paying attention to the person on the other side of it.
Yeah, they got to respect you, not like you.
Yeah, and that's such a key piece. Uh, have you run into a, I don't know. Well, I mean, because what I'm trying to formulate is like a problem child that just won't get it. Could you share a story on that?
I'll tell you a funny story, actually. This is a great
Yeah.
example. This is a live scenario. I got an inbound call a few weeks ago. A lead came through, got to me on a Zoom meeting, and he's like, hey, I'm a VP of sales. We have a team of 50 salespeople around the world. You recognize the name. We got a budget set aside. We want to bring you in to do some training for our guys. And I said to him, well, what problem do you want to solve? He goes, no, we're having a great year. Just want to have you come in and give us some inspiration. I love your videos, love your ideas. Just want to give us some, inspiration. What problem do you want to solve? No, look, we're doing great. Just want to have you come in, teach us some of your language, some of your ideas. We just want to kind of, get the team together and have a training. What problem do you want to solve? I asked him like 5 times. Finally, I said to him, let me ask you a question. I'm a doctor. I said, how many opportunities a month do you have inbound for your team? He goes, 100. I said, of the 100, how many convert to a client eventually? He goes, 30. I said, what happened to the other 70? Why don't we work on that problem? Let's go from 30 to 60. He goes, yeah, let's work on that problem. He himself could not articulate his own problem. He only wanted the solution. How often do clients say to you, my problem's X, turns out it's Y? They themselves don't even understand the totality of their own issues because they're inside the problem. They see it 180 degrees. We see it 360. That's our job. Our job is to show them the gaps they can't see. Then they'll hire you just you knowing that alone. They don't need to know the solution.
Yeah, and that's such a great one because all he was focused on, my guys must not be motivated. They're doing okay. That's satisfactory. We just need to keep the motivation up.
That's good. Because here's why. Most leaders focus on how well they're doing, not how much they're losing. Oh, yeah, we're doing great. Yeah, we hit our numbers this year. High five. Let's bring Ari in. I'm like, man, you just lost all your revenue in your pipeline not being converted. Why don't we work on that? He's like, oh. Everyone doesn't look at it that way.
Yeah, that's an interesting shift too, because are we, on the leadership side, you tend to focus on the wins,
yes.
Right? I mean, that's even something that we do with all of our clients.
Sure.
We talk about the wins. So that shift into, well, how do we, that win, if you had 3 wins, what would happen if you had 4 wins? Kind of thing. Is that kind of it?
And why are you losing the ones that didn't come through? Well, they weren't qualified. Really? Let's play your recordings of the call. Listen to what happened there. You talked the whole time that they were perfectly qualified. You're the problem, not the market, not your leads. You're selling and not trust building. It's like, oh, you're right.
That's awesome. And it just adds validation to what I learned, and that's focus on the problem, understand that leads problem. Don't talk about how great my solutions are, because I got some great solutions. I can tell you, folks. Yeah, we got great solutions here at Try and Purpose, but that's not what we're here to do. We're here to solve the problem, and I have to understand the problem to do it. That's what I learned today, man. And that's a great one. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
Yeah, for me, it's, we talk about like understanding the why, and having the why behind everything you're doing is so important. And I think just understanding how much like failures and losses equate into that why and how much value that has. And I keep running through these examples like out in the rugby field of like trying to get guys to do things. And it's like, well, Ari, you need to do this because it does these things. And I always paint it as positive. That's good. It helps a lot of people. Most people tend to get those things. I could also tell you that nothing woke up, the guys more to listen to those kind of things than getting blown out by 50 points in January. And then it wasn't hey, we could do this positive thing. It was, Ari, remember last week when this negative thing happened? Because you literally did this. And it becomes this very like, oh, like it just makes the math so much simpler than this kind of abstract of like, if I do these things, then good stuff will happen. It's like, no. Prevent the pain also. The pain is a powerful teacher, and you need to use that pain and make sure people are owning those losses when you're trying to make those changes.
Awesome. Ari, how about you, man? What'd you learn?
It just helped me reinforce the COI versus ROI model, because we're so locked into selling the future. Hey, if you work with us, we can look at changing your life. They can't think past tomorrow. They're like trying to get through today. You're like trying to sell them, not you, but trying to talk about the future. So I think the cost of inaction is really, it's hard to get there with people because it's not intuitive. So we're taught to sell them a beautiful future. But I think if we can get in that world with them and help them articulate the totality of their issue and help them see the impact of that, then they'll own it a lot faster than trying to sell them something that they think they might get in the future.
Awesome. Ari, how do folks find you, learn more about AriAI, and pick up one of your 7 books?
Look, I think to do a deep dive, the best thing is grab my book. It's called Trust in a Split Second. You get it for free at thetrustbook.com. It's not digital. It goes in the mail with the stamp in a physical box, a real thing you're going to hold.
Whoa, that's some trust right there, dude.
There you go. Yeah, so we send you, we'll pay for shipping. You can schedule a time you want as well on the checkout page and have a chat with us about your situation. Or we also have a community called Selling with Trust, business owners. You can get in for free and join that. There's a membership free level that's for free to access my initial course called the Trust Mindset. And it's just arigalper.com/free. So between those 2 entry points, you can't go wrong.
That's awesome. Ari, thank you so much for your time today. It was awesome.
I appreciate you guys.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest today, Ari Galper, for joining us. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribe so that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.